Love the numbers. Good morning. This is Heather Wiskus coming to you live from Give Me Some Green in Mint Hill, Matthews area. And today I'm so excited to bring to you with our third Saturday of every month coffee talk. We have Mr. Ken Newbill with Newbill of Health, who's going to be talking to us about what's in your gut and what's eating you. So thank you so much for joining. Remember, if you cannot make it live, we're from 9 to 10 on the third Saturday of every month. If you cannot make it live, we always post it live on Facebook, and then we repost it out on our YouTube channel, which is Give Me Some Green. So without further ado, I'd love to introduce you to, and I'm grateful to have you here, Mr. Ken Newbill.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. And good morning, everyone out there. So I'll start off a little bit about who I am and what I do, kind of to set the stage of what we're going to talk about today, which is parasites, and what to do about them, because we all have them. There's no one that's free of parasites. So it's a relationship that we have, and some relationships can get out of balance. But a little bit about me. I'm a holistic nutritionist and health coach. I typically work with very busy people who are trying to pull their life back together and maybe dealing with a lot of systemic energy problems. So I work a lot with people on working on energy centers in their body. So that could be gut, adrenal, thyroid, kidney type of situations, as well as lower intestinal tract. This tends to take up a lot of energy from us when these places are not operating appropriately or flowing appropriately in our bodies. And it's fun. It's fun to help people figure that out because they get a lot of great relief. And so I started my journey in health about 10 years ago. I was a morbidly obese man. I was somewhere between 270 and 280 on any given Sunday. And long story short, I ended up having a heart attack. And that heart attack kind of woke me up. I had that heart attack on the day my wife and I found out we were pregnant with our first child, and we were already into the second trimester. So there was like, we didn't know we were going to ever have kids, so we hadn't planned on it. But so that kind of set me on a journey for myself. I still consider myself on that journey every day, because I still deal with all this systemic and environmental factors that everybody else does, trying to maintain their health. So that means constant research and understanding and schooling to further develop my skill, and working with people and gaining experience from each one of them just brings more value to my life and to my practice. So I went to nutrition school for a couple of years. So I studied holistic nutrition, which means I take things from the earth and help map them holistically to the being in order to solve real problems. Right? I use the dirt, I use the air, I use the water, I use the sun, I use movement to bring the body back into balance. I don't actually work with anything synthetic or recommend them in my practice. So I'm not that guy. I don't think that that's necessarily not something that you can't not use. I just think there's a time and a place and a level of volume with which you should use it until you move on to something more natural.
So not everyone's healed by throwing vitamins at them?
They're not. No. Yeah. No. It can be a little more to that, right? So let's talk about parasites this morning, and please, let's make this
bugs in the gut.
Let's make this really interactive. And I think a lot of us in the last 5 to 10 years have heard a lot more about bacteria and gut issues overall. But parasites is still something that not a lot of people are spending a whole lot of time in yet. I believe the time is coming to where we're moving past just understanding the gut microbiome to getting into something a little more simplistic that's affecting people in more ways than they can possibly realize when they've gone through the gut healing protocols and are still not feeling well, because there may be some creatures that have run amok within your body and are causing you all kind of dysfunction. So let's talk about some of the symptoms of parasites, and they can be very similar to other things.
Bloating?
It's one of them.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Tired?
Yes.
Tired.
Energy zapping. How about moodiness? A lot of people don't understand.
And then I got a lot.
Parasites can make you pretty moody. They can also drive your action into what you eat. They can make you crave things that you don't.
The tapeworm. You must have a tapeworm. That when your grandma, I'm sorry, is it just
yeah.
my grandma? That's it. You must have a tapeworm.
You eat so much.
Pile enough pasta for 3 people in my body. Italian.
Oh yeah.
Just
getting in there.
And if you don't eat it, what's wrong with my food?
Or like with my wife, she's Puerto Rican. if you yawn, you're hungry. Very strange traditions that some of us have.
All the time.
Is yawning a sign of parasites?
It could be because it's about an energy zap. So a lot of times when we're looking at some like neurological disorders or energy disorders, things happening in the mitochondria, parasites give things off. Parasites are living and breathing things, so they create die-off in the body, and they create feces. And so there's lots of toxicity that can happen from parasites being in your body. So what you might think is, you know, you're coming out with a cold or something, or just like your head's not feeling well, you're foggy in the brain, could just be a reaction to you're just poisoned. You're just dealing with a load of toxicity in the body that's from some other organisms that have gotten out of balance. So again, I want to, you know, make sure we all kind of realize that you can't live a parasite-free life, okay? But what you can do is live a balanced life of understanding how to address them, how to live a lifestyle that can reduce your exposure to them, and then also, you know, a couple times a year going through some processes and getting some out of the body, which is probably more important now than ever before. I believe in living in a detoxification lifestyle. Most of us have not ever been raised that way, but we should be raising our future generations that way because we have a lot of environmental toxins. We have plenty of bugs in our foods. We're living in a sterile land with food, so a lot of gut problems are happening.
Natural bugs or the bugs that the government say, oh no, that's good. That's totally fine.
I believe we all have a symbiotic relationship with every organism on the planet. There is some way, shape, or form we're going to be impacted by them. Your job is to create a very strong immune system and very good lifestyle protocols to keep you healthy, because you can't change all of that. But what you can control is you. So bring the problem back here, right? You know, it's all what did Gandhi say is, you know, be the change you want to see. Well, there's no better way to start that than in your own body. Okay. So let's talk about some parasites and what they can actually do to you, and why you should be have some concern, but don't freak out. Right? So don't need to freak out about it, but definitely have some concern and understand what some of these things may be leading to or causing you discomfort in your body, right? So how do we get them in the first place? Well, anybody want to guess?
Say meats.
They can come in meats. They can. Now they're typically going to be in undercooked meat or pork,
Why pork?
chicken, just because they're pigs that are raised commercially are just not in a very healthy environment. Same thing with any commercial agriculture food. There's a lot of pathogens and parasitic activity there just because of the quarantining of the animals, right? That's an imbalanced place. It's a very imbalanced place.
At this point?
Yeah, we're just talking about meat right now. So if you were to go to a commercial agriculture farm, there's nothing about it that will make you go, wow, this is right. Okay, we all know that. I think we've all seen enough documentaries at this point to recognize that that just is not right. And so there's an impact to that. You know, let's get past the hormones. Let's get past the soy feed and the glyphosate and all that that's going into the animals that they're feeding on. But just look at the environment of feces that's around there, right? That's a high parasitic environment.
They literally live in piles of shit.
Literally.
They do.
Okay. So it should be expected that this is something that is going to be part of your nature if you participate in that type of agriculture consumption. So we can start there. We'll start there and kind of work up. So I know this might get. What's one sign? Anal itching. Okay. You don't got to tell me. I don't really want to know. But you know. But you may know if you're having this problem. Worms and parasites move. They don't all stay in the same place. Okay, so various types of parasites.
They're gonna be like, "What? You ate me? I'm crawling back out."
And there's certain parasites.
Sorry, I don't mean to make fun.
It's okay. But it is kind of funny because it's our bodies, and our bodies are funny. I mean, come on. My kids are always talking about poop and pee. They're 5 and 8. They're just tired of hearing about it.
Oh, in Asia, they think farting is hilarious.
Yeah, it's just so
like,
funny.
when you apologize, they're like, "What are you apologizing for? We all fart. It's funny." And I'm just from America. Like we're taught to, I'm sorry, excuse me. And in China, they're like, what, that stuff red?
Let it roll.
And then they hold their numbers, like, that was a 10. And I thought it was awkward, but they just are like, we don't apologize for bodily functions because we all do it.
Normal.
Normal.
I mean, it's
But I wonder if they realize some of that raw sushi and fish and all those other things could be.
Yeah, could be.
And that worm's a 10.
So I mean, who here eats rare meat? Who likes a rare steak? Yeah, we like a rare steak. Who here?
Carpaccio, Italian. Yes.
Anybody like sushi, like she says?
Yep,
Right.
sushi or Ethiopian kifo, totally wrong.
I have a really interesting, and I hope he's out there because this was really cool. I was coaching this guy a couple years ago, and he called me in a panic. He was like, "Man, I need something to get these worms out of my body." And I'm like, "What happened? Like, what are you talking about?" He goes, "I made sushi at home, and I'm literally watching a worm come out of the sushi that my wife's about to put in her mouth."
Oh my
Oh.
God, that's gross.
That happened to us when we got fish at Costco.
That's why I don't make it at
Sorry,
home.
Costco.
Yeah,
Just saying. So I don't make it at home.
it's crazy, right?
Oh.
And so that's just evident that this is something that's extremely hard to avoid, maybe with some of the practices you may go through and how you eat or consume meats. So just remember, just because you're eating a raw steak and they sear it on the outside, that's just killing the bacteria and or pathogens on the outside of the meat. If the meat is still cool on the inside, there's still opportunity for parasitic activity, not just mature parasites, but their offspring.
They're larvae.
Yeah, right?
This is so awesome. I'm so eating salad for dinner.
We
But I have a feeling we're going to talk about it.
are going to talk about
because-
it too. Yeah.
So-
Because the good understanding, if you've ever seen anything rot in the field from food, there's all types of things that come to do their job, right, to help them decompose. So you're not getting away from parasites and bacteria just because you're eating vegetables and fruits.
Right.
There's parasites and bacteria for all of them, okay? You can wash your vegetables, you can get them the freshest as you can, and that's probably gonna help a lot. But there's just some things that are just going to happen by nature. But every parasite does not want to stay in you. Okay? So all parasites do not want to live or take up
I have a very
residence.
nice apartment in here.
You're like, I want the
I want
relationship.
the relationship.
Don't leave me. Hang on with me. Show me some love. So yeah, some are
I have
going to
a
move right
question.
through the bottle. Sure.
So when you're talking about vegetables, let's
Mhm.
shift gears before I vomit. When you're talking about vegetables, they use so many chemicals on
Yeah.
vegetables.
Yeah.
How is that not killing the parasites associated with it? Like, I try to eat farmer's market or organic as much as possible, but here's what kills me is that you talk about commercial farmers, you talk about commercial growing, whether it's produce or meat substances. Organic is becoming a huge movement.
Yeah.
But now, guess what's become commercial? Organic farms.
Yeah.
So how is that affecting this discussion, like as far as parasitic and chemical based? Because do you understand what I'm
Nature
trying to
is
say?
stronger than man.
Okay.
Nature is stronger than man. Okay, we are part of nature, but nature is bigger than us as a whole. And these creatures have been here longer than us. In fact, some may argue that we exist to host them. Okay? There's a symbiotic relationship with us. I mean, when we look at the gut in the gut microbiome, there's way more bugs in our body than there are human cells. So could we really be human without them? Could we exist without them? I think not. I think not. I think this relationship has been worked out for centuries.
What I noticed, my white vinegar really killed stuff on my fruit because that's really the important thing that I need.
I think it depends
And by
on
the way, if
toxin.
you ever
Remember
put white
being a kid?
vinegar, you put fruit in the white vinegar and you leave it for like 2 minutes and then you look at what's in there, it's really gross.
It's pretty nasty.
No.
It's really gross.
I remember in 3rd grade, we had to pull an eyelash off and look under a microscope and
See all the bugs in it, yeah.
crawling, and I was like, I freaked out. I've never shared mascara with a single soul in my entire life, ever, because of that reason. But I don't use vinegar, I use alkaline water to clean it all out.
Mhm.
Same thing, but And I was actually told by a practitioner that works with alkaline water for diet to soak any meats
Yes.
prior to freezing them and prior to cooking them. And I'm like, well, doesn't that saturate the meat? And she looked at me. The look on her face was so like, God, you're blonde. She goes, it's meat.
Sorry.
It's lived in water and chemical. You just drop it in there, let it soak for 20 minutes because the alkaline water will kill the bacteria and force any non-welcome parasites out. So I did this with a steak once, just to see. I didn't eat the steak.
You didn't eat it?
No, because I saw what came out of it.
Oh.
But it was out. You're gonna cook it, right?
It was a thing for me.
You would have.
It was just extra protein.
It was just really disgusting, but it's fascinating to see what we don't see.
But yes.
It's like I
To
said,
shine
it's like
light
that
on
with-
that dark
it's
place.
like
Just
that
think
with,
about
like,
when you
like
see something.
strawberries.
When you see something, it's still more there that you don't
Yeah.
see.
I always think I clean them really good with like just water and whatever, and then if you think that, then you just go stick them in vinegar if you've never done it, or alkaline, whatever. Leave them in for like 5 minutes, pull them out. Oh my God, it's disgusting. Like there's so much dirt and stuff that's in there. Ugh.
So to your point, I want to bring this up around meat. So what are you not going to be able to soak? That's probably the most popular form of meat that everybody eats.
Eggs.
I don't know, I don't
Ground beef.
Yeah.
Any ground meat, you can't marinate it unless you really want to. It's going to be kind of messy and a little weird. But no one's marinating ground beef. No one's soaking ground beef, right? It's the easiest place to hide anything. Like half the ground beef in this country don't even know what truly it is, right?
Ah, pink slime.
So
Yeah.
I recommend people try to avoid ground meat of any kind as much as possible. Go with whole pieces of meat, right? Marinate your meat. Not just clean it, but marinate it. I mean, if we think about before we had alkaline water capabilities, we did use acidity to help kill and or burn, right? Because acid burns things, right? We're killing these organisms that are on and in the meat. So it was very much a good idea to soak your meats. It also makes it more digestible, right? So if you
Cured meats.
when you marinate meat, you are pre-digesting it,
But
right?
you don't typically serve ground beef raw. You're cooking the crap out of it. I know. I had
Yeah.
tacos last night.
Mhm.
It was swimming in taco sauce. It was really good, by the way. Here.
But a lot of people make hamburgers and have hamburgers that are medium rare or rare.
Hi, Daryl.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So it really depends on how you consume your meat. And there's no guarantees that everything gets cooked as well as it should. And when we're out eating, does everybody really inspect it that well? I don't know. I think everyone has their own little habits that they do. But if you do have a high meat diet, you probably will eventually have some high level of parasitic symptoms that should be addressed. You might have a problem with metabolism. Okay, you may be following your diet regimen perfectly, working out okay, and things just aren't quite working for you. Like you've done it all.
Are we talking about me now?
We're not, but you can. I mean, if you want to play in that field, you can. But
I was just telling Ken this morning that I actually did really good. I did a massive detox a couple of years ago. I did something called the TLS challenge. And it was it wasn't a challenge, it was a challenge for me. But it was a whole detox to cleanse my body of parasitic activity and bacteria, and I ate more food in that 21 days than I've ever eaten in my entire life and still lost 26 pounds. So, but the things I was eating shifted,
right.
and the times of day I was eating shifted. But then I got in a car accident, and I couldn't keep up with the working out. I couldn't keep up with my lifestyle anymore. So I shifted back to my old ways, and I gained 20 pounds fat.
Yeah.
Not all 26 though, so that's good. But, and I was just telling Ken this morning that I can't get it off. It's like my body is set. I don't know anyone else that can walk 27,000 to 30,000 steps a day at Disney for 5 days and put on weight. I did. Me. So that's really interesting because I think that might be exactly what's happening with me right now.
Or just the opposite. You have people who cannot gain any weight.
That's my.
Yeah, I've never really had that issue.
Yeah, my.
But there's
She can't gain weight.
But I think
It's difficult. For
I
her.
think it's a shame because I think there's a lot of a lot of hurt people on the planet who are thin and are really sick, and no one gives them any time of day or any empathy because they don't show their sickness. They don't inflame, right? They're not overweight, and so no one cares. Everyone thinks, oh, what are you worried about? You're thin, right? They're like, I'm dying inside here. Like literally, I'm in pain. I'm not thinking straight. I'm very moody. I'm having depression and anxiety, and I'm just not a happy person. My energy levels are tanked. So what you think, everybody's putting on the smile, right? Everybody's putting on the big lie, right? What's the biggest lie everybody tells every day?
I'm great.
I'm fine. How you doing? I'm fine. I'm fine. Fine. Everything's awesome, right? Meanwhile, they were in a bathroom for an hour trying to work things out. Okay, so thinking of that, like constipation, or wild swings between diarrhea and not pooping for 4 days.
Night sweats?
Yeah, that could be a contributing factor. Now, normally night sweats tend to do more with liver function, right? To where the liver is heating up. So I was just reading a post from one of my friends this morning before I came over here, who was discussing how frustrated she was with her body and how poor and how bad menopause was, right?
It's not fun.
But I've worked with plenty of women with menopause, and what a lot of people may think are menopausal symptoms are just systemic breakdowns at a certain time in your life, compounded by your hormonal shift. Like you still haven't changed any of these other habits, and now your body is maturing into a new phase, so it's really hitting you hard. So if you still want to drink every night, and you still want to eat crap food, it's just caught up, okay? And now you need to do some work, some real work, besides getting some licorice root or soy isoflavones and things of that nature that are known to assist with estrogen balance naturally, right? But I digress. Let's get back on to
You're looking at me again.
well, you're here.
There goes your game off, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, so she's gonna have me going in circles, and that's okay. So what was I really trying to get to?
Parasites and how to get rid of them.
Okay, so let's talk.
I got you, man.
Let's thank you. So let's
That's why she's to one side and I'm to the other.
so we can talk about. So she did bring up, the commercial agriculture versus organic agriculture kind
Which
of
is
deal.
becoming commercial.
Well, it's all commercial.
It's all
What we're thinking about is organic is the process of how food is grown.
Right.
It doesn't change, and hopefully that's maintained with some integrity. Like I know a wonderful local organic farmer, and she is 100% in, right? That's Mary Roberts out of Windcrest Farms. She's, I think, the oldest organic farmer, maybe in all of North Carolina, but surely in Union County. Very knowledgeable. So if Mary, if you see this, I love you. You and Mary, I hope y'all are doing great.
But there's a lot of great farmers markets. I have to say, coming from Chicago, there are more farmers markets here
Yes.
than any place else I've ever been.
It's pretty abundant, and most people don't have any good excuse except they're tired and don't want to get up and go on Saturday mornings to go get their food because they just don't know how to change their habits, or they're uncomfortable with the environment of going there. But any place that's growing food, right? You could be, depending on the methods and how they farm, what resources they use to fertilize. Are they bringing in manure? Are they like fresh manure? Because that could be really scary, right? Because it's not cooking, it's not decomposing with other materials to settle it down and reduce the pathogenic nature of it to where it actually turns back into a usable compost soil, right? Bringing in those type of raw materials can get on your food and also invite parasites. It can invite them to the party. So absolutely they could be around. So what, some people are like, hey, E. coli, right? We hear about E. coli a lot. Well, yeah, E. coli can be there, but there's a host of other things that can be there too that they're not talking about, okay? This gets, I'm not here to put fear in anybody's heart. I'm here to help educate and just wake up and go, this is just the state that we're in, and we have to get to a level of acceptance so we can actually stop pretending like this isn't a problem. Like we have some problems, and we need to defend ourselves, and we need to ask for better things from the powers that be if we want to see that change out there. But we got to be the first ones to go, hey, I'm not waiting on the government or these businesses to do right by me. I got to do right by me. So it may take making sure that I'm buying the best food I possibly can out of locally or locally, getting to know my farmer, asking the right questions so I know how their food is growing, maybe visiting their farm and creating that bond with our food again like we used to, right? I grew up with a grandmother. I used to go with her to the farmer's market every weekend. She knew so many farmers. I went to so many farms because she wanted to know for sure how the food was raised. She knew then where our food was shifting and how bad it was getting. She already knew. She goes, food doesn't taste the same, right? I don't feel right when I eat this. And one of the biggest things I tell everybody to do, if you want to really see how sick we are, look back in your photo albums, if you still have those things, from, I know they're archaic, some of you may not even know what I'm saying. It's a photo apps like this book. I'm looking at these young folks over here.
We have that home, so we make it look.
Okay, yeah, okay, I had to explain to a 14-year-old why you use the yellow pages and not Google, so.
Right, right.
But I understand what you're saying,
Yeah.
because my grandmother and my grandfather, when they made spaghetti gravy, yes, it's gravy.
It's gravy, not sauce.
Depends on where you come from in Italy. My grandmother would boil the tomatoes, peel the tomatoes, and my grandfather would be like, wrong tomatoes. And I've seen him dump an entire pot and she'd the look on her face because they just didn't taste right. And then when he started using canned tomatoes, he was such a snob on the brand because he wanted to make sure it was packaged the right way, the tomatoes were taken care of the right way. Otherwise, and you could literally taste the difference in the gravy depending on the tomatoes that they use.
I believe that.
So I totally understand what you're coming from there. But fast forwarding to today and where we are now, because food has shifted and we can't go back to that heirloom tomato that we had 20, 30 years ago. It's there, but it's hard to find. So
you can get it from Newbill Health Urban Farms. There's plenty of places here that you can get these foods.
Renfro's has a lot of heirloom seeds, but for the average person that's not gonna grow a garden in their backyard, and has a choice of farmer's market, how can we rid ourselves of what parasites are good and what parasites are bad, and what is a good balance, and how can we figure out if we're in balance?
How you figure out if you're in balance is just how you feel. How do you feel? What are your symptomatic responses? How is your skin? How is your thinking? How is your digestion? Most people will feel it first from a digestive standpoint, like, I can only eat, I'm really hungry, and then I eat like 5 bites of food and I'm out. Like, I'm not hungry anymore, but I know I need more food. Like, that's not normal. That's not who you normally are. It's not how you grew up. So that's a systemic breakdown somewhere. There could be a problem with parasites there. It could be a lot of dissension. Like I said, like the major switches back and forth between your bowel movement cycle, either being overly frequent, not frequent enough, very hard, weird looking things showing up in the stool could be a sign. Some people can literally just see them.
Literally look at your poop.
Just look at your poop. If it ain't right, and you can look at the Bristol stool chart. You can download that anywhere to understand what a good stool is supposed to look like, right?
What is it called? The Bristol stool chart?
Yeah. And if you are really foul smelling in the bathroom when you go, this is a huge sign. If you're normally not, and you're like, oh my God, dude, I don't want to be around myself, right? If it gets like that, that's not normal either, okay? Scent is a big deal. That's a natural response that's telling you things, right? That whatever you're doing is not right.
See, we tell people that when they lay in the meeting bed, that when you get off, it's gonna stink because it's pulling a lot of that out of you. So when you say a scent is a bad sign, is it also a good sign in a way because your body's getting rid of some of it?
If you're not doing anything to cause that to happen on
then
purpose,
it's just a buildup.
then it's just systemic buildup at that point. So you need to get some things right. If you're getting hemorrhoids all the time, right? This could be another action that could be contributing from parasites.
How does a hemorrhoid contribute? I always thought it was because you push too hard.
No, you're pushing too hard because
you're
pushing too hard because your things are not balanced in the gut. They're out of balance. Parasites cause imbalances, right? They like to feed on things. They could also be contributing to other problems correlating to fungal infection, right? Because of their ability to eat certain things, off-gas certain things, drop poop, then other bacteria is like, hey, that's food for us. We're all about this party. So next thing you know, you're having things that aren't necessarily parasitic directly related, but they're correlated, right?
Okay.
So now Candida's albicans is running
That's
amok
the
in the
word.
body.
Okay, so candida
Mhm.
is usually a buildup of yeast.
Yeah,
So that's directly related to
they can
parasitic.
absolutely be related. This is why when you're doing any type, like the one, like when you're talking about the process that you went through,
Mhm.
if you're gonna do a parasitic removal kind of process or protocol, it makes sense to kind of do it all at the same time. And there's a specific way you wanna do it. You actually wanna make sure that you are pooping a lot first, okay? America, wake up, you need to poop a lot more. Like seriously, you need to poop a lot more. If you're, think about a baby. Anybody here had a baby recently or raised children? Okay? When you feed a baby, what does it do?
Immediately. Like within minutes.
Yeah. Your body shouldn't really be much different from that. If you were to look at every meal that you have throughout the day, there should be a bowel movement that corresponds with that meal. Maybe not a snack, but definitely a meal. So if you're having 3 solid meals a day, you should be pooping 3 times a day. And if you're not, you need to work on it, because that's how you build up this toxic load in the body, right? Where does all the trash go
What did they say?
if the door isn't open?
By the time you're 40, you have, what is it, 5 pounds of poop just sitting in your.
Not even 5, not even 40, not even. Today it's 20, in your 20s, in your 20s. I've got people I work with in their 20s that have quote unquote old people problems, like me, like I'm 47. So you've got people having old folk problems that are in their 20s because the toxicity load and the teaching of how to eat is diminished. Most people aren't cooking anything anymore. You're getting all your food from someone else.
From a window.
From
I have a
window
friend,
to the wall.
Jocelyn, this is for you if you're watching. She always told me food should not come out of a window.
Unless it was an apple pie sitting in the window, right? Yeah.
But that's one thing, because Jocelyn's a health coach as well, and she's actually spoken here before, but she said, she goes, food should never come out of a window. Someone should not be handing you food on a tray from the window. If you're doing that every day, take a good hard look at that before you look at anything else in your health. And I think that's a huge problem with our society. Food is coming out of a window for a lot of people.
My wife likes to call it living that drive-through lifestyle. That drive-through lifestyle will catch up with you. And then, just digesting of food. We forget how to digest food. So as a nutritionist, I spend a lot of time just focusing on very simple things that we won't do correctly. Like, stop stress eating. And not the typical stress eating. Most people think stress eating is like emotional eating. I don't think it's the same.
Most people don't realize they're stressed, so they don't view it as stress eating. So what are you
My
definition of stress eating is eating on the run.
I was gonna say, I feel like that to me,
Eating on the
and
run.
when I eat bad when I get stressed out, but it's not because I'm like, oh my God, sitting in the kitchen like freaking out about it. It's because I'm running here, I'm running there. Oh crap, I don't have time to cook, so I'm just gonna go grab this real fast. And I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm definitely much more.
That's where I see stress eating mainly is when we are just go, and food is no longer really a priority to us. It's just something we gotta do, right? And so when you put it in that it's just something I gotta do bucket, it doesn't get done very well.
What
Right?
about being real tired after you eat?
But real sleepy, you got the itis?
The itis.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Depends on what you eat, right? So it could just be what you ate and it's causing a really poor or very bad response from an insulin standpoint, and you're just having spikes up and down and crashing after you ate donuts or whatever it is. It's maybe a bit too much sugar, maybe too much starch, maybe just too heavy, or even worse, it's just the wrong combination of foods, right? So I spend a lot of time working with people that are having problems in the gut, work on how to properly pair foods so they can actually not cause that kind of problem. Because most of us combine foods in a way that was never meant to be. Like, if I have to get really real about it, I'm gonna get really real for a second. If you look at natural man, right, and an Inuit, or just a natural Indian, wherever, when we are just out and about, we don't live in a city, right? We live completely with nature. We never really took the time all much before farming to assimilate foods from different areas. We kind of ate what we saw. So if I walked past blueberry bushes in blueberry season, I didn't go, oh, let me harvest a bunch of these and take them home. I sat there and ate until I got full first, right? Now, why is that so cool? And this is one of the secrets to why a lot of monolithic diets actually work very well, right? So you see people go, oh, I did the potato diet and I felt great. I went on the carnivore diet and I felt great. I went on a vegetable diet and I felt great, right? Every diet will run its course, okay? But what happened was you got really, really simple with what your gut had to do.
Right.
That's the big catalyst.
And that's probably why I did so well, because when I did the 21 day, it was just like vegetables and 2 ounces of not really heavily prepared meat.
Yeah.
And then it went up to 4, but it was very simple. There was not a lot of
Complexity.
One of the things in the diet was if it had more than 5 steps, it became an ingredient list and not a meal plan. So everything was like under 5.
Yeah.
Everything we cooked. And it made a huge difference. And now that we're going back to that big old lasagna in Costco, 37 ingredients, 50 of which I cannot pronounce.
But why is that in pasta?
Yes, but it's
How
so
many
good.
ingredients does it really take to make pasta?
Well,
And then you go buy pasta and you're like, why is there 30 ingredients in the pasta? Why is there 50 ingredients in bread?
Yeah.
You know?
So what can we do? Like, what is our big takeaway? Because I know this conversation is much deeper than an hour.
Yeah, it is.
So what is something that we can start instituting in our lives
Right now.
right now?
So first things first. If you're gonna eat meat, cook it. Marinate it. Try to get as much bug activity off of it as possible. I like alkaline water. I use an alkaline water machine at home. We soak our meats. It's a form of marination for us when we don't have a super amount of time. Brining, I think brining, marination, some similar things, right?
Right.
But that'll also not just allow you to kill the bacteria and pathogens that exist on the meat. It also allows you to speed up the process of digestion of meat in the body so it doesn't have to sit in the intestinal tract fermenting, right? Fermenting for long periods of time.
So no more raw steaks?
It's not all that, it's not all that, man. It's just really not.
Hey, Ken, what about overcooking meat? Like well done type of scenario?
Yeah, anything that's charred is carcinogenic. So it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah,
But here's the
that's
thing,
a
right?
fine line.
Here's the thing. There's a lot of people that can do very different things, but because they're doing things you don't see, they're balancing this. Remember, health is about balance. It's about a balance. It's about, is my machine in full swing to handle whatever I'm doing?
Yeah, we give oil changes to our car.
Yes.
Which is like flushing out toxins. But
Yeah.
how many times have you given your body an oil change?
Not many people.
many.
If you've never done a parasitic cleanse, if you've never done just a GI cleanse or tried to rebalance your gut bacteria ever in your life, and you're an American, a U.S. citizen, and you're living a pretty normal American life in terms of living this drive-through lifestyle, or what would you say, out of the window? Food should not come out of the window.
That's a Jocelyn comment, out of the window.
Like Jocelyn would say, you should probably investigate doing something like that. Most people should be doing something like that a minimum of twice a year, okay? A minimum of twice a year. You could even get into things like enemas, right? Doing coffee enemas, doing some level of fasting. Now we're talking about putting fluids into the bowel, right?
Daryl, your mom fasts, doesn't she?
3 days,
How
3 days,
often?
4 days, 3 days or 4 days, no water, no nothing.
Yeah, she's a dry faster.
What does that mean? Wait, what?
She
Nothing?
Doesn't know, don't drink water or anything, that's straight fast.
Yeah.
3 days or 4 days,
A month?
every week.
Every week.
Okay, so she only eats like 3 days a week?
She only eats Friday, Saturday, Sunday, maybe Monday, no any other time.
No water, no nothing?
No nothing.
How
Every
is,
7
okay,
years old.
so you've told me that before and I find it shocking, and his mom is like healthy as a whip, and if she ever sees this video, she could literally come and kick my ass. But we're always told that you have to drink water So how is that not?
There is no document or scientific evidence available today. Go look, internet, and see if you can find it. That proves that anybody needs to drink any copious amounts of water. I've looked for it. I can't find it. If you find it, send it to me. I'd love to read
What do you
it.
think about people that get lost on a trail or they get lost in their whatever, and they're out there for like 3 weeks, and
So
I
I'm
mean,
a
at
former.
some point, obviously they have to have a little bit of something, but they don't. They're like, I mean, it's.
So I'm a former Army Ranger, right? So I've been in pretty austere environments throughout my life, and I've gone without food and water for very long periods of time. And so when I got into fasting 10 years ago for myself, for example, I started to correlate real life things that I did to my new life now as a civilian, and I was fixing my body. And I was like, well, yeah, I did feel stronger, a little edgier, right? But I had everything I needed within me to carry on whatever I was doing. And typically what we're really looking for out of water, if you think it, so we'll talk about this water thing because everybody talks about water and there's all different types of science around it. And I think most of it's kind of like, whatever. Here's the deal. Why do we drink water? Does anybody know why we drink water?
To
Flush
hydrate
out your body.
yourselves.
And what does hydrate mean? What does hydrate mean? How do we hydrate a cell?
You're getting the H2O molecules into the cell, which helps the mitochondria.
Is that what we think? How does his mom survive for 4 days without drinking any water? And she's like, awesome. She's feeling great. Because our body has the ability to make its own cellular water. Okay, number one. So
I mean,
here's
we are 90% water, theoretically, right?
Yeah.
So we.
make our water.
So we're like a camel?
Yes,
Huh.
we're very much like camels. Okay? And why we drink water is to create electrical charge at the cellular level. So let's go back to primal times again. We're out. Where did we source our water from? It wasn't from a tap. It
No,
was
it's from springs.
Well, what does spring water have in it?
Minerals.
Minerals.
Minerals. It's natural. It's alive.
Right with
It's
that
living water, which is why alkaline water has made such a
Exactly.
huge splash because it's as close as we can get to drinking
Splash.
living natural water. That was totally intended.
I like that. So, that's how, so hydration is a big, big topic. We can come back and talk about that in a lot more detail another time. But essentially, you can get most of your water, right, or your hydration from foods. Fruits have tons of water in them. Watermelon's a superfood. It has a lot of minerals.
A good juicy apple when
Yeah.
it runs down your cheek is the best.
And learning how to drink water. How many people here drink when they eat?
I was told not to.
You're not supposed to. Why?
For the digestion.
It dilutes your acids in your stomach, right? So then a lot of people that have digestive issues don't really have digestive issues. They have consumption problems. They don't know how to eat and drink yet. And they need to learn how to eat and drink so they can solve their acid problems. So you're like, oh, I've got acid reflux. Now the doctor's giving me these pills that are gonna help me with that. But I haven't met one person yet that actually really gets great relief from having acid reflux medication.
If anything, now they're finding out I have a friend that was on all kinds of acid reflux medicines, and now like half the ones you were on are being
Taken off the
associated
market.
with cancer. Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, but go, dude.
Yeah, so really it's just to understand the correlation of where does that acid come from? How do we get things into the gut? And how can we protect it? And it's about protecting, it's about having a defense of doing things out of balance with the gut so that we can actually do a good job down there in breaking down the food. Starts here, eating under stress. We don't chew anything.
So don't eat under stress. And I'm hearing cleansing twice a year is a good recommendation.
Yeah.
And whatever that looks like for you, maybe it's
It's a little different for everybody.
and that's something that you can dial in a little bit closer
Yeah.
than most people. But cleansing or fasting twice a year, maybe not drinking while we're eating. What is your take? And I know this is a big buzzword, and I might ruffle some feathers saying this. But what's your big take on probiotics? Because lately that's the big, the big push. And I have a lot of clients come in and ask me about probiotics, and I always tell them the same story, and it's a sad one. But the reality is, and it's sorry if I offend anyone with this, but if I took a live puppy, which is a live probiotics are supposed to be living
Pro-life.
organisms.
It means
Pro-life.
pro-life.
So if you take a live puppy and I put him in a container and I sealed it airtight and I threw him in a freezer and then I put him on a truck and then I drove him to a store and then that store put him inside a freezer again, by the time you brought that puppy home, he's not gonna be alive anymore. And that's a lot of the problems we're having with probiotics today is they were alive when they were packaged. But by the time you buy them off of a shelf in the form of a yogurt or a drink, they're no longer living. We're dealing with dead probiotics at that point. So even though probiotics are beneficial, it's become such a buzzword that people don't understand the difference.
Well, I think you have to look at what kind of problem that you have, and where I feel like the industry has gone a little awry, and this is my own personal opinion, is we're going too far down the microbiome path to the point to where you're never gonna understand which probiotics you're supposed to be buying, because there's
Hundreds.
so many, there's too many strains, and so there's literally an industry just based on that confusion, okay? But when you can find a couple of strains that can tend to balance whatever issue you're having, there's a time and a place for probiotics. And should you take the same ones all the time?
So no, so we rotate them out like every
You
8
should.
weeks or
You should
something.
change them. You should change them. You may find that you create some balance for a period of time with your probiotics, but really, where did good probiotics and enzymes come from? They come from living foods. They come from living foods.
Not packaged yogurt. Sorry.
They come from, and I have some conflict these days with things like colostrum and kefir and fermented things, depending on what's going on with someone's body, because they could cause some problems. They cause histamine responses that you're not used to. They can cause certain allergies to start kicking up that haven't been there before. So it's a very fine balance. Even someone who says, "Oh, well, go make your own sauerkraut and eat that." Yeah, but remember what that's doing. That's for killing things. Fermentation is a process of death. It's rotting. So you have to be very careful how we introduce these things to the body and make sure that we have a very specific goal in mind, specific to that person, right? Some testing would be beneficial, but also just testing and measuring things along the way before you overdo something. For example, if someone recommends, hey, you should go eat sauerkraut because that has 80 million more, probiotics in it than a whole bottle of probiotics itself, well, and I didn't say go eat a bowl of it, okay? You might not like the response that your body will give you. You may not like it. You may just want to start very gingerly, maybe like with a half a teaspoon. Treat it like a medicine, because that's what it is. It's actually a medicinal thing. And you make sure it's a living, live, raw sauerkraut, or it's no value to you, for that type of thing. So yes, you can do some cleanses. You can just pay attention to your body, okay? Pay attention to your skin. Like, are you having any kind of constant itching in certain areas? Are things moving about your body? You see something here one day, you see something there the next week, and it's moving about. Worms like to move sometimes. Parasites like to move around. Ringworms are pretty apparent. Look at your feet, especially women with varicose veins. A lot of times those aren't varicose veins, those are worms.
Stop it.
No, I'm serious.
Stop.
I'm serious.
Stop.
Some people are like, oh, they just assume, well, take a good look, because it could be parasites. Take a good look, okay? Because a lot of things that may contribute to varicose veins is kind of like unhealthy eating. It's really a lot of sugar problems with poor circulation and oxidative damage that build up that cause varicose veins, okay? Some people get them easier than others because of their lineage, and women tend to develop them easier than men. So, but it can be disguised, right? So look for that. Look for those things. So yes, let's get some sunlight, right? Whenever possible. Move your body, keep things moving. Get your bowels moving. Move your bowels. That's like the most important thing that we don't give any credence to these days. In fact,
Okay, I have to ask.
Yeah.
Daryl, have you ever asked your mom if she has a movement during the days of her not
she
eating?
won't.
Nope.
She won't.
Not really. She don't do anything. But when she eats, she eats the full course meal. So she starts off with like 2 plates of fruits. Then she goes to about 2 plates of breakfast. Then she goes to her dinner. So she eats a full course meal all in one sitting.
Mm-hmm.
My roommate's uncle in college, he's a chiropractor, and when we'd go to his house, you know, his mom or his aunt would prepare a big dinner, and then his uncle would come in and literally have a bowl about that big.
If you can't see,
And it was-
he's making
Oh
gestures
yes,
like this.
like
big.
big bowl, and it would just be nothing but salad, and that's all he would eat. And he would usually do that at least once a day, and then maybe have some proteins later on.
Yeah.
We were just kind of like, what?
It can be pretty simple. Like,
But you train your body, because
She's
when
the
you
whole
start
full course.
eating like that, when I did that 21 days, which for me actually lasted 18 months, but when I changed my eating habits, I found myself not desiring the things that I love chocolate. Like Oprah loves bread, get out of my way. I love some chocolate. I love chocolate. Like, but I found myself being able to look at my favorite chocolates and be like, no, I'm good. And for me, that is enormous,
Yeah.
because I don't ever say no to chocolate. I'm
If
never
you
too
have-
full for chocolate
and
or
that's-
ice cream.
And that's just another big sign. If you have super cravings, parasites. They
My
like to be.
parasites like chocolate.
They love chocolate. They love chocolate. They love sugars. They love flours. They love.
But I
these
started
things.
craving salads and finding myself wanting salmon over kale, and I started craving different things after I went through that cleanse, and it was just awesome.
It's a rebalancing.
It was really, it felt amazing.
So I'm gonna kind of circle back through, just because I know we do have more. So if someone is watching and they're sitting and they're like, oh my God, like I have
All that.
all of the stuff you just said, like, other than cooking or cleaning their food and marinating meat and whatever, right? Because like, I don't eat a lot of meat, right? I just don't, it's just not my thing, it never has been.
Yeah.
So if you're not into that, what do you do?
If you're not into eating meats.
Well, if you're just like, what other things can you do? Like, what else is out there?
So,
Obviously meet with you, right? I mean, like,
well,
that's
of
good,
course.
but
I mean, you can seek out a practitioner or someone who's really into this world and really does a lot of work in the space, and knows what to look for to help guide you through rebalancing and getting these creatures in the proper place, or getting ones that just absolutely shouldn't be in your body out of your body. You know, there's also other things to do, like you can take certain types of baths, and these kind of freak people out.
That's that foot bath.
Mm-hmm.
So, I have to tell this
Yeah.
story, and I know our time is running thin, if not past, but if you've ever heard of a salt foot detox, a friend of mine named Holly did one on me at the same time I was doing this detox, and some people say it's hokey, some people say it's not. I'm gonna tell you my experience, and you can take it or leave it, but you put your feet in a tub with a machine that produces an ion charge in a saltwater bath, and the largest pores in your body are on your face, your hands, and your feet. Those are the three largest places in your body. And parasites, you've got the most blood vessels in those three spots either. So I sat there with a magnifying glass just watching disgusting shit pour out of the bottom of my feet. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking, and something came out, and it continued to move. And then something came out. So I'm sticking, I was much more flexible at the time, I'm sticking my face in, and there were worms, live worms, coming out of the bottom of my feet.
Yeah.
Okay, for those of you that don't believe in the foot bath, how does that come out of a machine? No, I literally watched it come out of the pore in the bottom of my feet. I almost threw up in the same bath, but
They're running.
it's one way that I realized how toxic my body was, and people have been asking me to bring that in.
How did you feel after it was done?
Well, I was a little nauseous
Mm-hmm.
at first, but I did after doing, I think, Holly, correct me if I'm wrong on Facebook, I think we did 12 sessions.
Okay.
And the first time I did it, the water came out almost black.
Wow.
Just because of all the crap that came out of my feet. Now,
That's
I was
disgusting.
formerly a smoker, so that I assume a lot of that was just built up toxicity from my years of inhaling carcinogens willingly. But after about 12 sessions, it was probably the color of a light cup of green tea, which is normal. It's like your urine, it's gonna come out that color. That should be the normal color. But I noticed a huge shift. Now, when my mom did it, hers had blue flecks.
Interesting.
It was her medicine
Mm-hmm.
coming out of the bottom of her feet. So it's just really fascinating to me. And so I'm assuming when you talk about baths, it's something very similar
Yeah.
to that.
It's something similar to that, but it's probably a little easier. It can be a lot more invasive because it's soaking the whole body.
The whole body. Now, we would use a high content of salt in a bath like
Yes,
this?
you would have salt, you would have Epsom salts and clays and a few other ingredients, and you want to soak down to your earlobes, right? So you're really capturing as much of your body as possible, and magical things will happen, right? Absolutely. Things will start exiting the vehicle, if you will. But just be prepared for that. Know that even if you go through, something that's coming out of the bowel, you're gonna see some strange things that you're not gonna be proud about, okay? But you're gonna feel better, and it's worth going through the process, because you then get to understand the realization that I'm not in this vehicle alone, number one. I have a codependent relationship with these other beings that I cannot escape. So I need to take care, right? I need to be aware and take care of it. So you do the preventative measures, you do a little maintenance from time to time, and 9 times out of 10, you're gonna be doing all right, okay? Anything's done, this is woman's mom, I commend her. I live a fast and focused lifestyle. So I'll be on a fast next week for probably about 5 days. No food, no water. I do that from time to time because I want to rebuild things. I also want to allow my cells time to push all the junk out, right? When we're constantly eating all the time every day, your body's busy processing food all the time, and then it can't focus on healing, right? We're like the only species on the planet that just continues to eat like crazy when we're sick. Everything else stops eating, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you have for just
Sure.
not only myself, but I'm sure the people sitting here as well as some watching?
Yeah.
How can we reach you, and how do we do next steps to
Sure.
learn more about this independently? Because obviously my situation is going to be different than his situation,
Absolutely.
than her situation. How do we reach you?
Easy. Give me a ring or shoot me an email, whatever. Reach out to my website. I'm at 704-412-2478.
And we'll put that in the notes
Mm-hmm.
for this video as well, so that you'll be able to reach out to Ken. And I'll also attach his group in his Facebook page so that you can reach him directly as well.
Yeah, so all that information will be there for you guys. Here's kind of how things will roll. We'll get on a 30-minute free consult, okay? We're just gonna talk about what's going on with you. You can share kind of what's happening with you, so I can make some good recommendations on how to proceed. I can then also guide you through the process and also provide you with tools to help you do it. So whether it be, some type of cleansing product or herbal blend that's actually going to enhance the experience that you can actually do. So my biggest job as a health transformation specialist is call with, yeah, I know I should do this, Ken, but
will you?
it's not what you can do, it's what you will do. Okay, so I'm gonna work with you to help determine, is this something you really think you can pull off? And I'll help you write up the protocol and execute it and test it and see how things are going, getting the biofeedback from you to make sure we're getting proper progress. So if we need to make adjustments, we make adjustments, right? So you don't have to be in the journey alone. I think this is some of the worst things that a lot of people do, is they go to the grocery store or go to CVS and they grab Dr. Whoever off the shelf in emotional state and physical well-being. A lot of these things will drag you through the mud. So if you're I work with a lot of high-performing people. They can't really afford to be drugged through the mud for 2 weeks. Okay, so you may need a different approach. Okay, some people can take off for a week and just sit by the toilet, but not everybody can do that. So you need to find out which methodology is going to work best for you, for your particular situation, and for me to also be able to understand what potential parasites do you actually have, right? Because you don't want to treat them all in your body, right? And you also need to make sure that back door is flowing. I can't say that enough. If your back door is not flowing, do not start a parasitic cleanse. Don't do it. You got to get your gut and your bowels moving first, because these things need to go somewhere, right? And if they start killing them, you're going to get sick because you've got stuff rotting in your body and giving off gases and toxins, okay? And then you need to also understand the timing of parasites. You don't just kill them once. There's a phase 1 and a phase 2. All eggs are still there, so you got to come back about 15 to 20 days later and run it again to make sure that you get the babies, okay? This is how you really get the balance. Most people stop short. They go through the first week or 2 and they're like, woo, I got through that, and then everything's repopulated within 3 weeks. And they're right back to square one, okay?
Same life cycle as a flea.
Yeah, it's just a cycle, right? It's just a cycle, and I'm really concerned more about the ones on the inside of the body, versus, we've all got parasites on the outside of our bodies, but we've got skin and acidity and pH balance that kind of keeps them under control, right? Once they're inside, it's where things really run amok. Has anybody ever seen a parasite on an animal?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, isn't that cool? Like I see it a lot. So if you've ever seen an animal that's parasitic, you're the same. So you get lethargic, you start getting slower, you're guided towards certain foods. This is because there is a neurological connection that they have with you. They are connected to you, okay? So the best part is about every choice that you think you're making on your own, because a lot of it is not on your own. A lot of it is not you don't have enough willpower. A lot of it is that you've got other beings that are kind of run amok in your body and gravitating you towards certain decisions and causing you discomfort. That when you do try to do something right, it fights back. Because believe me, they don't want to leave. They don't want to leave. They're not going to just say, hey, all right, well, we're out of here. No, you have to create a very inhospitable environment that requires specific types of herbs, specific types of spices, out of your body, okay? They're not gonna leave just because you want them to. You gotta make them move.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I'm so happy to be
I'm
here.
very excited to announce that we have partnered with Ken, and he is actually going to be our local resource for helping with nutrition and balance in the upcoming year and future. So if you can't reach Ken for any reason, if you somehow miss his link, by all means you can call us and then we can help you connect with him, because we will be doing a lot of work together, because some of the services we offer are very symbiotic and help. So if you have to get me some green, I know Ken's offered you guys a free 30-minute session. Take advantage of it, because he does not do that for everyone. It's specifically for you guys. Mention the date and time you saw this, and you guys sitting here, that's how you get it. It's not an everyday thing. So again, Ken, thank you so much for coming out and talking to us about bugs and shit, because it's important. But these are things that are important for all of us to know, and I appreciate each and every one of you for coming. And remember, we will be doing another session the third Saturday of December. That one might be aired as a Zoom, do that live on Facebook. Cool. And we will definitely be bringing Ken back to talk about some other issues, because this is just scratching the surface of his knowledge and what he's been through in his lifetime. So again, thank you so much for your time and effort. I appreciate it, and have a great day for everyone out there.
Take care, y'all. Blessings with you.